everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. Before we watch the fan cam, a shout out to the sponsors, Match Bingo. Now I'm telling you people, if you would have put anything on Match Bingo and it would have been Chelsea to score 1 goal, or Chelsea to score 2 goals, or Chelsea to score 3 goals, or 4 goals, or 5 goals, you would have won big, okay? That's all I'm saying. You've got to be over the age of 18 to play. Click the link in the description, download Match Bingo and enjoy the fan cam. Hello everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. My name is Alex. I'm outside Stamford Bridge with Charlie after a 5-0 win against West Ham. Charlie, that was a piece of cake.
I mean, yeah, it was, mate. Totally unexpected. But, mate, the champagne football's back at Stamford Bridge. We've been waiting for this for so long, mate. We've been waiting for it for so long. And do you know what? We've got to enjoy it because we don't know when the next one's going to come. But the most important thing was, could we follow up from the Tottenham result? Was that just a one-off like we'd seen in other games? Could we actually continue and put back-to-back good performances together? We fucking smashed it out of the park, mate. We were exceptional today. I'd probably say that was our best performance of the season. And like, one tactical change has made such a big difference, and you just think, why has it taken so long for that to happen? I know Cucurella's been injured for large parts of the season, but just in general, why has it taken so long to revert to that tactic of inverting a fullback into midfield, and then suddenly, like, one little thing makes such a big difference? Like, that would be my only slight downer, is that why has it taken so long to get there? But fuck me, mate, some of the football we've played today and over the last week, second half at Villa, 90 minutes against Spurs, 90 minutes today, mate, it's been exceptional. Some of the best football we've seen all season, probably in these last 2.5 games.
I have to agree. I mean, I don't really know. I don't think Poch has been renowned for bringing fullbacks into the midfield like Guardiola. That's something we know from him, and I think Klopp's done it with Trent as well. So maybe Cucurella is just that player for us, but he doesn't strike me as one of the players you would put in that position. I would think of James or Gusto. They're very well. They do well on the ball. They can score goals, whipping across. Cucurella is not really that player, so the fact that he can slot in midfield, it's quite surprising to me in a lot of ways.
It was a little bit surprising, but he's been exceptional. Like, that's the player we paid the money for. And now you can see, now that he's doing that in that position, you can see why Pep Guardiola wanted him. Like, Pep's seen the vision. And like, Cucurella's had a lot of disrespect during his time at Chelsea. Booed in his first season and stuff, looked at as a bit of a joke and a bit of a laughing stock. Well, where are the haters now? Like, back your players, believe in them, and you will see what they can do. We haven't signed bad footballers, and inverting them into midfield suits his skill set massively. We know Cucurella's skill set is not bombing on down the wing and pushing high and wide as a fullback. Attacking wise, he doesn't offer much, but inverting him into midfield offers an extra man in there, helps Caicedo massively as well. I don't think it's any coincidence that Caicedo has had 2 or 3 of his best games since Cucurella's inverted into midfield and offering that support behind him. So fair play to Cucurella. What a player he's been, by the way, for the last few games. And do you know what? It goes to the summer. He's someone that they're looking at selling. Are you fucking joking? Absolutely no way. Right now, if there's anyone we should be selling a left back, it should be Ben Chilwell. And I hate to say that, but it absolutely should be.
And I've seen people saying Reece James as well because of the injuries. But then I would disagree with that because he has actually got the surgery. Yeah. So I think it's time to give him a little bit of a chance in that sense. But let us know what you think in the comments about both of those players. Thiago Silva back in the lineup today. A lot of respect at Stamford Bridge for him, and it's nice to get another clean sheet with the big man.
Mate, it was a pleasant surprise. I don't think anyone expected him to be fit and back in the side. Obviously, because we played Thursday night, you don't get a press conference or any injury updates between the 2 games because of a quick turnaround. So, pleasant surprise. Played very well. Obviously, he's got 1 left at the Bridge now. Yeah, he was very good again, what you expect from him. And the fact now that we've kept back-to-back clean sheets, something we've not managed to do very often at all this season, is a real plus, a massive plus defensively, because defensively we have been dreadful, but back-to-back clean sheets is definitely something positive to build on. And so, yeah, I thought the whole back line were very good today.
I mean, it's a massive eye-opener, not just because of the Cucurella situation, but also the midfield. Gallagher and Caicedo, that is a partnership that has really never disappointed this season. Yeah,
I mean, a few times they have played together, it's always worked pretty well. And I just watched today, and as an ownership or sporting directors, whoever's making the decisions, you should be watching that and thinking, we need to rethink our what we're going to do in the summer. We need to rethink that, and we'll find the money somewhere else. But unfortunately, they're going to be looking at that and thinking, that's a few more quid on the price tag for these boys. And that's the most disappointing thing, because you talk about young players, you're going to go and sign some young players. You've got fucking Gallagher, 24, you've got Chalobah, 24, all putting in phenomenal performances. Cucurella's 25. Like, you don't need to go and spend sell these guys and go and spend twice as much money as you sold them for on players that are half as good. We don't need to do that. Look a little bit closer to home, trust what you have, and stick with it. You know, unfortunately, this football club doesn't know when we've got a good player. They just don't know. And so I'm hoping that maybe something can change, but ultimately, I don't know how likely that's looking, because these directors, this ownership seems to be very stubborn. But I mean, it couldn't be any more obvious. It couldn't be any more obvious that all those guys should be staying. Simple as that. Chalobah today, not even in his natural position, playing his right back, was brilliant. That pass over the top for the Jackson goal, fantastic. What do we need to say about these guys? Like, they're not being sold for footballing reasons. If they weren't from the academy, they would have been signed up to new deals by now, in Gallagher's case. And Chalobah and Cucurella, obviously Cucurella is different, but Chalobah wouldn't be thought about being sold whatsoever. So, you know, you cannot keep just selling off good players to make up for expensive mistakes you're making in a transfer market. Own the mistakes, take the deduction if you need to. I mean, this might get some heat in the comments or whatever, I'd rather start next season on, say, -3 or -4 or whatever it might be, and keep these players, because that's just Tottenham home and away. And so, do you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather do that. You know, when are we going to learn from our mistakes? So hopefully, maybe there's going to be some rethinking at boardroom level on what we do in the summer, because those guys shouldn't be going anywhere.
I mean, who does need to go, in your opinion, from the players that we have at the moment? Obviously, we alluded to Ben Chilwell, and if you want to keep Cucurella playing regularly, is there anyone else that rings a bell for you?
I mean, I'm not actively looking to get rid of Chilwell. That was just a point. But I mean, I don't look at anyone in the first team squad and think they need to go. Obviously, you've got the obvious, is like, you know, your Broyers. I mean, Martin, unfortunately, is going to go. Lukaku, Kepa, Ziyech. You know, guys that haven't really been part of the team this season. But I look at the squad we've got with us right now. I don't look at anyone there and think you need to go. So I think we've got a good squad of players. It's very much a case of just adding a few bodies here and there. We know what we need, and then the rest can be on a one-in, one-out basis if players decide to move on.
No, you are right. I mean, I do hope that the owners listen, not just to the fans, but the manager. I mean, apparently there's quite a bit of tension, which doesn't even surprise me. Pochettino's come into this club, and a lot of fans have called him a yes man, and you could argue that they're actually right, because he is willing to be flexible and work with what he has with the ownership. He's not necessarily as demanding as what we've had in the past with your Contes, your Mourinho's, your Tuchel's. But there comes a point where, at the end of the day, the manager is the guy who's picking these players. He needs to have a say on who stays and who goes. And if he is saying to these owners, I want Gallagher in this squad, Chalobah needs to stay, and they end up trying to go out and sell those players, for me, that's a massive red flag.
Well, it is a massive red flag, and it's no way to build a relationship. Like, as a manager, I'm not saying a manager should have like a say in everything, right? But you should be listened to. It should be a collaborative process, and you should be listened to. If the club are just flagrantly disregarding what the manager's saying in regards to players he wants to keep, maybe recommendations for players that might want to come in, if you're just completely ignoring that, it's a ridiculous way to operate and a ridiculous situation to be in. I'm not saying you should have total control or anything like that whatsoever, but you know, you've got to get to a point where it is a collaborative process and you are listening and you take on board advice from everyone involved. That's the way it should be. It shouldn't just be one way or the highway, basically, which is what it seems to be at this point in time. And that's why I say, like, very few managers are going to want to work at Chelsea under this way of operating if there's not really any flexibility in it whatsoever. It's as simple as that. You know, it really is that simple. But look, I think if we can continue playing the way that we've played the last 2.5 games for the rest of the season, if we can somehow get into that top 6, which if we carry on playing like that, I think we will, because I don't think United are very good. I think they'll drop points, and maybe Newcastle might as well. Then he should absolutely be staying. You know, it's not about. And people love to blame someone, but when you see him doing stuff like that, he deserves to stay for another season. He does. It's as simple as that, really. You know, where people criticise, you should also praise the things that are being done well. And ultimately, you look at the managerial market, you look at where the club's at right now. It's not in Chelsea's best interest to make yet another change at the end of this season for a fourth manager in 2 years of ownership. You know, you've got to actually trust someone at some point to try and take this forward instead of constantly chopping and changing.
And the thing is with Pochettino, which even Tuchel didn't have when the season started, he had so many players, half of the dressing room didn't want to play. And so in that sense, it's not Tuchel's fault necessarily. That was the owners and the board for signing so many players and not getting rid of enough of them. But he didn't have the whole squad on side. And Pochettino is the first manager under this ownership I don't see the play. Maybe Silva. We know Thiago Silva's had a few complaints, but apart from that, generally speaking, they're on his side. And that for me tells you if they're playing for him, there must be something about this manager that's worth waiting for.
There's a togetherness about the group, you know. Everyone seems genuinely happy to be at the football club, and that's not something we've been able to say. He's created a good environment, a good culture, seemingly. Players are getting on. They seem to like the manager. Whether privately there's a few issues or not, we don't know. But at least publicly, you know, and outwardly, there seems to be praise and respect for him. They like the way that he operates. They like the freedom that he gives the players. You know, so many young players have come out and said, you know, it gives him confidence and all that sort of thing. And that's what you want from a manager with a young group of players. You've got to build these guys up rather than constantly tearing them down. This is something that this fan base does all the time. Instead of praising players, just constantly tears them down and compares them to players that we've had before. What is the point in that, you know? We haven't signed bad footballers, you know, we really haven't. And, you know, it's going to take time. And that's a really boring answer that no one wants to hear. But the reality is there's been so much change from top to bottom in 2 years. It's going to take a little bit of time. But if anything, you can see what we can do and you can see what's possible. And you add a few more missing bits of the puzzle and then I think some things are possible over the next couple of years. But, you know, there's no quick fixes in football. Everyone thinks there's a quick fix. Everyone just wants the next shiny toy. No one actually wants to sit down and actually properly think and realise what it takes to build a successful football team. You know, Man City got taken over and it took them, 5 or 6 years to win their first trophy under that new ownership. You know, I'm not saying it's going to be the same for us, but these things take time. You know, you can't just suddenly expect wholesale change and then just expect a team to be competing and winning at the top. You absolutely can't. I know there's 3 games to go, and you look at it and you think, right, okay, if we were to finish in 6th place and an FA Cup semi-final and a Carabao Cup final, that is a good season, considering the circumstances and considering all the change. We're not quite there yet, but if that were to happen, that's a good season in my view, and that massively changes the perception on the manager from everyone. And, you know, there's no point being heavily critical if you can't then praise when things are good. That's how this works both ways. Me and you have both criticised the manager a lot at points this season, but can also see the bigger picture. And unfortunately, this is a bigger picture thing. So yeah, I mean, for me, he should be staying another season. It doesn't make sense.
What about Jackson as well? Because a lot of talk about putting him on the wing or getting a new striker in. In terms of his development as a striker, I just think he's come along quite a long way since the season start. I don't think we can necessarily highlight his finishing, but in terms of his hold-up and the link-up, generally speaking, we saw a lot of great things in pre-season, but as soon as Chukwuemeka and Nkunku got injured, he sort of went on a little bit of a downward spiral, and he's come into his own over the past few games.
Mate, his improvement from the start of the season has been tenfold. You know, he's been really impressive. The link-up play, the play outside the box has always been there. The finishing's not been so great, but he gets in the right positions. He works hard. He runs channels. He offers an outlet. He stretches teams with his pace. Holds the ball up well. And do you know what? Today, mate, particularly for that second goal, those are the sort of finishes. Like when he's got time to think about it, he tends not to do well. He had a lot of time to think about that one today. Cool, composed finish. In the right place for the tap-in from the Madueke pass, you know. Running, busting a gut. Mate, a really promising footballer, got great attributes, and for 30 million quid, 16 goals in his first season in all comps. Like, I don't think we could ask for much more. 13 goals in the Premier League. I'd back him to get to 15 in his first season. 15 goals in your first season in the Premier League, if he gets that. That's a brilliant return for £30 million. But I don't see how anyone can criticise Jackson. He's got all the attributes to be a top footballer. He just needs to work on his box play.